pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, how are you?
Mr. Secretary, has this meeting been advertised according to law?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has.
Roll call, please. No?
Mr. Diabio?
Here.
Mr. Newton?
Here.
Mr. Travisano?
Here.
Mr. Palando?
Here.
Mr. Hartsfield?
Here.
Mr. McGill?
Here.
Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
Here.
First order of business is authorization for payment of bills non-NL, that's A through I. Can I have a motion to approve?
I move the motion to approve.
Roll call.
Mr. Diabio?
Yes.
Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Mr. Travisano?
Yes.
Mr. Palando?
Yes.
Mr. Hartsfield?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Next is 5B, authorization of payment of bills NL related non-escrow to be paid when funds are available, and that's just J. Have a motion,
I
please.
make a motion, we approve on a roll call vote.
Second motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Diabio?
Yes.
Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Mr. Travisano?
Yes.
Mr. Palando?
Yes.
Mr. Hartsfield?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Next is 5C, authorization for payment of bills to be paid from escrow accounts, to be paid only if funds are available, and that is K through Q. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve on a roll call vote.
Second motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Diabio?
Yes.
Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Mr. Travisano?
Yes.
Mr. Palando?
Yes.
Mr. Hartsfield?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Next, pending matters, waterfront redevelopment projects.
Yeah, the project's continuing, same report basically as last year from last week, okay, last meeting, from the standpoint that Brian has the area of Bass Pro all surcharged, preparing that site. That extra dirt on the top is to go through and be able to squeeze the water out of the underlying soils, and that's called a surcharge. So that's there so that that can go through and stabilize the ground below where the parking lot area is. The other area is still being worked on. You didn't get the approval yet from the DEP for the in situ, did you?
No, we have a meeting scheduled with the DEP. They're trying to schedule not this upcoming week, but when's the 8th? Is that the following week?
Yeah.
The following week, we're trying to get that meeting scheduled.
That's for that last remaining piece near the Marcelex area, okay, to remove the radiologicals. That is basically in very soupy dirt that you can't go through and easily remove. So they're waiting for an approval to finish that. Once that is done, then the radiological work will be done, and the only remaining work that has to be done is the groundwater contamination has to go through and be injected, and that is something that can be done during the development phase. So that's good news. We just got to go through and get this last piece done, and then I think that I think the agency should make an announcement on it, because it's been a long time coming, and I think that should be a separate release from the agency that work is, the remediation work is done with exception to the cap and that other stuff.
So, as of right now, we're still on schedule as that meeting that we had for the piles to be in the July, or is it June?
For the piles?
Yeah, to start the best
You're
project.
to go vertical.
Yes, so
Foundations.
the two things that affect that are the Turnpike Authority starting their work, which they pushed their work a little bit back, but as soon as they start, we're ready to start. And then Bass Pro is making some tweaks to their plans, but we are ready to start in the summer. And we are.
That's not, my question is, and I'm not being hard, we've said that we told the people June, now we moved it to July. You're saying we gotta wait for the Turnpike, and there was more changes. You weren't at the meeting, I said to the gentleman. What is your drop dead date on all these changes? You just can't keep on having changes and letting this date slide. You gotta have a date. In my world, there's a date. You give the guy to that date, and then that's the date. And then after that, if a change order happens, it happens. But we can't, we're gonna do a press release, we're telling the people, Brian, all I'm saying is, we can't keep on pushing the dates.
But I agree with you. There's really one date that matters with us, and that's our delivery date of the building to Bass Pro, which is June of 2017. That has not moved. There are certain other areas that have moved in terms of the vertical construction. But everything else that we can do that doesn't require the turnpike to start, like the surcharging, which is a long lead item, the pad prep, we've already spent the money and done a lot of that work.
So if you don't start till September, you'll still be done by June or July by next year. That's what you tell me.
If we don't start, well, if we don't start till September, then no. But right now, the turnpike is on schedule to start in July. We're on schedule to start in July. But we've always said if we can't have a situation where we build that building and the turnpike grant doesn't open and then Bass Pro doesn't move in, and then we're sitting there with an empty building.
We realize that. All I'm saying is, we don't want to go out any longer and keep on telling people, this is the date that this is going to happen, and this is the date that's...
Our press release will be June 2017, that's all. And
Yeah,
and when the Bryant starts earlier or later, then
Yeah, I
it's
would.
not gonna contradict our press release.
And look, the agency has every right to release whatever they'd like to the public. I mean, how we handle it is we say, every conversation we've had with Bass Pro and the Turnpike, and everyone's on the same page, that we are tracking the ramp work. And they are aware of that, we're aware of that. They have their store opening date when they're ready to go. And as long as everything comes together, you know, it's things that are not 100% in our control. So
I realize that, but what we're doing is, we're giving that what if. Frog had wings and one busted butt trying to fly, you know, trying to hop. I mean, before I would go out with a release, I would want to make sure that it's...
As Mike said, 2017 is the date you're looking for. It's a
Right.
date they're gonna open
And
the
the press
store.
release is gonna talk about the cleanup, it's not gonna talk about a start date. So that's what we need to agree on, the press release.
So,
yeah, so speaking of press releases, I mean, the Turnpike has awarded the ramp project, which is a very good sign. So we prepared a release just saying that they've awarded the ramp project, and we submitted that to the agency for their review and comment before I think that's in your packages tonight. But
It's in the
I don't know
paper.
if I got it out in the packets, but we might have received it after we sent the packets out, but it's the press release. You all should have it in front of you. I handed it out.
It's in the paper already.
Press release? Shouldn't have been.
we haven't sent
I
it
just
out.
read that.
after the fact.
That's my concern.
We were very clear about
Put things
not
out,
making
then
the, not
dates
release.
slip.
We only got the press release in, I think, this week, and we asked for them not to disseminate until we had an opportunity. We had the meeting coming up, so we thought that would be an excellent opportunity to get the agency's sense of, you know, any kind of comments they'd like to include.
So who let that out?
Well, the Turnpike Authority, it was a public award, so.
Who got it, Brian? What company got
There's
it?
a joint venture, it's actually in the release, I can't remember the name. We do have a copy, Joe, I can.
Well, Brian, can we say this at least, as far as you, on behalf of SSA, are concerned, in the areas that are within your control, you're ready to go, so that if you get the final approval from Bass Pro and/or you get the, you know, the ramp, they start building the ramp, you're good to go? There's
We
gonna
are
be
good
no
to go.
delay on your part.
Look, we've already spent a significant amount of money on that building site work.
But you understand what I'm saying? Just-
Yeah,
You're
we
saying that
are
you're ready to go, if the situation's out of your control, they move forward, you're ready to move at the same time.
We've been ready to go since 2014, so we're ready to go. And we did not release any press release with regards to this.
But this dovetails in, everyone should have a press release in front of you. It's a draft press release. This is entitled, O'Neill Properties Group begins work for Fort Gordon State Parkway exits for retail mega project to Point in Sarah. Does everyone have a copy of that?
Yes.
If we even asked for our comments, and since it only came in this week, I thought, you know, we'd review it with the agency and get a sense of what the agency would like to add or whatever they'd like to do with this.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to my remaining report, I would like to do it in closed because it involves property acquisition, and that's an item for closed.
Do you have anything on this?
No, check.
Nothing else.
I know there's two members from the public here that, I invited 3,200, but I'm glad two showed up. The next part of the meeting, we go into closed session for a little while. Everyone has to step outside, and when you come back, you're more than welcome to ask whatever questions you want. I'll open it up to the public. No, we're not closed yet.
We're not closed yet.
Well, I'm closing now. We're done with this.
Okay.
Yeah. Show you the resolution.
Resolution of the Federal Economic Redevelopment Agency to go into closed session to discuss contracts, labor relations, and other matters that fall under that, that description.
Have a motion to go into closed?
I make a motion, we go in close.
Second motion.
All in favor?
All right?
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. How long do you think we need? 20 minutes? Sure.
When you said it's not back, I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
he's
meant-
right here. I meant that.
I meant renewed.
Okay. New business, a resolution amending the redevelopment agreement to allow the reduction of the minimum age requirement for Gillette Towers from 62 to 55 as per Borough Ordinance number 319-16.
I make a motion, we approve on roll call vote.
Don't we have the second part of that, or you said it was one motion?
It's one resolution.
One resolution.
It authorizes the amendment to the redevelopment agreement and also authorizes the assignment from Gillette Enterprises Inc. to Gillette Towers LLC.
Do we have to do two resolutions or
No.
just
No,
the
the one resolution.
Okay, so I made the
That's
motion.
Incorporated together.
I made the motion. So you need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Diadio?
Yes.
Mr. Newton?
I abstain.
Mr. Travisano?
Yes.
Mr. Valento?
Yes.
Mr. Hartsfield?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Any commissioner comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion open up to the public?
I make a motion, we open to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Since I'm the only public here.
What happened? Chase the other guy away?
He left?
Ran away. Oh. Guess you guys are scary.
Why scary?
Do I have
Read
to
your name
like say
into-
where I live? and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
Read your name into the record.
Michelle Bardsley, 28 William Street, Saraville, New Jersey. I actually attended a Blue Ribbon Committee meeting the other night, which is part of the Board of Ed actually, is opened it up to the public. It's to address the overcrowding in our schools, mainly elementary at this point. But eventually, obviously, that will bottleneck up through the middle school, the high school. And they were sort of explaining the pilot program to us through the site, Mr. O'Neill's site. So from what we understand, from what they explained to us at the meeting, with the pilot program, the county will get their money, the state will get their money, the township will get their money, and the schools will see none of that.
That's true.
That is definitely not true.
Definitely
They
not
said that
true.
they will get a $19 million, payment, one-time payment, that will go to the borough, and that will be up to the borough to decide if the school actually gets that money.
I'm going to have our attorney explain this part to you, because you have all the wrong information.
Right.
We actually went over it before the meeting, so I wanted to make sure. I didn't have all the facts when we were talking on Facebook, and I wanted to make sure you knew exactly what was going to happen. So I'll turn it over to Anthony.
The pilot agreement under New Jersey law, the pilot agreement has to be between the borough and the redeveloper. The agency has no authority whatsoever to enter into a pilot agreement with anyone. The only thing that the agency can do is make a recommendation to asking the borough to consider a pilot or not to consider a pilot, or the agency can do nothing. They don't even have to act, just be silent. So for this project, the master redevelopment agreement between the agency and redeveloper, who's Brian O'Neill, Sayreville Seaport Associates, it provides that the redeveloper shall, through a pilot, raise up to $19 million for the construction of schools. So in our redevelopment agreement with the redeveloper, we required that the redeveloper contribute up to $19 million specifically for the construction of schools.
Okay, now is
Per-
that a
per-
lump sum payment, or is that a payment out over 25 years?
That's a payment over time. Once the borough and the redeveloper negotiate the terms of the pilot agreement, it's also known as a financial agreement, it will provide that there'll be a pilot which takes care of the property taxes, but then there's a pilot add-on provision that is extra money that is raised to fund the amenities on this huge site, to fund the infrastructure, to fund the firehouse, to fund the construction of the schools. So the pilot will provide these mechanisms to collect the money through the pilot, and once the pilot add-ons are collected over time, and it's based, the timing of it depends on when Brian builds certain phases of the project. So as you build and the pilot add-ons start to accumulate, then they'll start raising the money, and that's based on the phasing schedule and when you build out. So I can't tell you when it's not going to be a lump sum.
Right, but is there money besides the 19 million? Okay, because this was the other thing they told us, is that with the pilot program, even the residential units will not pay taxes. In other words, they're under an abatement for as long as anybody else on that property.
The residential units pay, instead of paying, they pay tax. It's not the traditional property tax that goes directly to the borough.
Mhm.
But instead of the property tax, they pay, it's called an assessment, a service assessment. It's also known as a pilot agreement. So instead of paying, I'm just throwing numbers out, instead of paying $10,000 in property taxes, they'll pay, let's say, $8,000 in a pilot assessment that goes directly to the borough. And so that money gets split up.
But no money is specifically, like they were saying with the taxes now, 56% of the taxes go to schools.
Under traditional property taxes, generally there's a percentage. 50%
It's
goes.
56.
That's about what it is.
50% goes to
Like a
the
half percent
schools.
less, really.
Part of it stays to the borough, and some goes to the county. With a pilot, when you have a pilot agreement, the split is different. Nothing goes to the school.
Mhm.
Most of it goes to the town, and then a small part of it, a couple percent, goes to the county.
But when we say nothing goes to the school, that's not exactly
but-
accurate.
But right, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, 56% of the land assessment, which increases because the property is now being developed, still goes to the school. So when anyone tells you that out of a pilot payment, the school is getting cut out, no, that is not true. And the pilot payment the assessment and the taxes for the land comes out of the pilot payment. So that comes out first. So they do get that part of the assessment. And I don't know the exact percentage, but you were also mentioned a few minutes ago this question about the pilot being different from the taxes. In the residential properties, and I'm not sure if it's all of them, but it's a good percentage of them, the pilot payments and the taxes are pretty much equalized.
Yeah, well,
That's
Joe-
been a fact.
Joe, the only thing with that, okay, that's what the current proposal is.
Oh, right.
Okay, because it has not yet been
Right, agreed.
adopted.
Right.
Okay, there has to be a presentation. We're a little preliminary in talking about this, okay? But Joe is right. There was an intention to try and kind of equalize those numbers, but we can't tell you that that's exactly it, because the agreement has not been authorized.
Because we're still under negotiation
Yeah.
of
Right.
this, and
Right.
and there was meetings with the council, with Brian, and all those numbers, with the Board of Ed, by the way. The Board of Ed was brought into the meeting, correct? Wasn't there a meeting with Brian, the planning board?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't
Well, what
think
about
so.
didn't the planning board go over the pilot program as well?
So we submitted a financial impact analysis to the planning board, which is a public document, and we can certainly get a copy of. With regards to the for sale townhomes, the proposal that we have made to the borough is someone who buys a $200,000, I can stand over here, so. Someone who buys a $200,000 townhome at the point is gonna pay the exact same taxes under our proposal that they would pay if they bought a $200,000 townhome anywhere else in town. So even though the for sale townhome portion, we propose it to be under the pilot, because legally, since we're putting a pilot on the site, we have to do that. But the pilot amount will equal whatever the normal tax amount would be anywhere else in the town. That's what we have proposed.
Right.
We've proposed that it tracks whatever the increases or decreases are in the tax rate.
But as far as those residents' taxes, none of their portion will go toward the school. It's just whatever the land is worth at the time that you're building on it. Am I correct in that, understanding that?
No, so when you buy a home, your tax bill consists of the land portion and the improvements portion.
Right.
By law, the land portion under the pilot has to go to whatever the current percentages is. So if it's 56% of the school district, that money goes to the school district, and that land still gets reassessed every year as it normally would under a normal tax situation. So the land doesn't get fixed at the current rate. It still continues to get reassessed as it normally would, and that percentage still stays the same.
But I think the key question here and the key item that everybody forgets is that without a pilot, okay, on this particular site, this site would not be built, okay? There would be no amenities, there would be nothing for fire, nothing, the walkway, the amphitheater, a lot of the other municipal benefits that are being placed there would not be there. And it's because of the fact that there's $50 million worth of cleanup that has to take place.
Right.
This is not an ordinary site.
And I understand that.
So you
and
have
I'm
to go
not-
through and put
right.
together a package
Believe
that
me,
makes
I'm
it
not
work.
against
Yeah.
what they're doing. I think it's, gonna be good for our town. Obviously, every town needs to grow. But my concern is our schools, because we've been building, and obviously, unless you're pumping birth control into the water in these places, they bring kids and families. And I mean, I know from my husband being on the police force, they've gone into homes in Lemire, and there's 2 and 3 families living in a 3-bedroom townhome. So, to say that, well, we're gonna project that it's gonna bring 60 students into the district, I think that's a little bit unrealistic.
Where did you get that number from?
I believe that was from the meeting also. The projection was about 60 or something
The
for the
projection
townhomes.
is up to 300 kids. If there's under 300, Brian doesn't have to give us an extra $1 million. If there's 301 kids, he has to give an extra $1 million. Is
Okay.
that correct, on the redevelopment agreement?
It says that Brian has to pay, and you have to pay an additional $1 million just in case there's 300 kids or more.
Yeah,
So
I
based
think-
on my reading, we get it automatically.
Okay.
Well,
He didn't know
I-
that,
And I have stood in front of the planning board, this question always comes up, and it comes up in every town we ever develop in. And Mr. Magano has asked me this, because he sits on the board of ed as well as the planning board. And I told him, I said, look, I cannot stand here and tell you with certainty what that number's gonna be. I can tell you it's not gonna be 5, and it's, the numbers we have projected are around 300 to 450 students. I can't tell you it's gonna be that,
Which
but
is another entire elementary school.
But the,
Which is
Pretty
why you're
much.
getting
That's
$19
why-
million.
Yeah, that's why.
And he's gonna have to
They
build
cost
it then.
25.
And that's $15 million.
And he's gonna have to build that,
Building.
if that number is higher, correct?
well, based on the redevelopment agreement, there is an extra, that 19 I think goes to 20 if it
Right.
surpasses a certain
But,
amount. But also,
the Board of Ed is invited here, we now televise it, that's what people wanted, so we televise it. The council, the council people, they're invited, like any, if they wanna come, and we've invited the Board of
Right, and I
Ed.
know that Michael McEnroe has been at the council meetings regarding the pilot program.
Well,
I mean,
And he's
Not for
also on the
this,
planning
Not
board
for
also.
this, he was here for the club.
He was,
Benet.
Club Benet. Sarah has told them, and the council has told them, that this is still under negotiation. That really, what we're talking about, we can't really go any further than what we're saying, because it's not finalized yet.
right. I mean, I guess as a parent, as a several, I've been here my entire life.
We all live here.
My kids
We
are
all
here,
pay
I
taxes
mean,
here.
Mine too.
but,
And I work here, and I work in the middle school.
And, I mean, it's just very concerning when, you have a kindergarten class with 29 children, and you expect teachers to do a good job with 29 5-year-olds that are adjusting to a brand new environment, a full day of school. It taxes the teachers, it taxes the kids, and you can't just keep building and building and building and not have a regard for the fact that our schools can't accommodate it. They cannot accommodate it.
But
I mean, even my child is going up to the UES. The average class size in the UES is 27 to 28 children in a class. That's a lot of kids. And especially for what they are expected to learn and do in a short amount of time. And I mean, as a parent, that is my concern. I'm not saying that, you know, that's fantastic. I'm happy that all these businesses are coming into our town. But I just feel like there's always this build, 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 houses, apartments. I mean, Town Lake is exploding. It's crazy over there. You know, and Wilson School is one of the oldest schools in the district, so they have to try to handle all of those children from that development now, in a school where classrooms are only meant to hold 20, 23 kids. It's just something that I understand the purpose of this group is to make money for the town and redevelop the town, but I just want to make everyone aware, like, just because your kids aren't in the elementary school,
No,
maybe you're
stop.
not. Well, yours
Stop.
are. Yours are.
I got
Yeah.
You have great kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, like, people tend to, I think, forget about that. Like, the kids are an important part of this town. You have to sort of consider that when you're considering building more homes, building more apartments, building more townhomes, and you're bringing people in, but our schools are staying the same size. Nothing's changing.
But in fairness to the agency, and the redeveloper, we're taking significant steps. It almost sounds like that's being discounted. Significant, I mean, $19 million. I mean.
Right, but it costs 25 to build one school.
Right, but
And we
you
don't
can't-
we
know
may
whether
need
that
two
school's
or
gonna be
more.
necessary. What I'm saying is that we
It's
have.
necessary now.
Well,
I mean, that's the problem. We're outgrowing our elementary schools at this
But that
moment.
can't, that is not
I mean, they're talking about
something.
doing a referendum for November in hopes to
But
have
that's
a
not
school built
something
in
that,
5 years.
this agency has really bent over backwards to try and take care of the cost that, or the burdens and the amenities that, in fairness to the redeveloper, have been significant. And this 19 million plus another, I mean, the studies that have been done for that, you can't predict exactly, but there's been a lot of hard-fought negotiations
When you have
within
a
the
builder,
agency
when
and
you have a
elsewhere.
builder building homes, he's not required to do anything for the schools.
I understand that, and
Only,
I know
it's
in the
only
past.
in a redevelopment zone where we could,
Right, and I mean,
really
the
get a
concern is
builder to help
too,
us
is that
out.
the money gets given to the borough, that 19 million, correct?
The
So
19
they can
million
choose to do with it
No,
what
no,
they
no,
do.
no,
Listen,
no,
no, you're not listening.
the
You're not
19
listening.
million in the redevelopment agreement must be used to build a school.
That's the language.
That's in writing. That's the language of the development agreement. I went over it with the attorney before I came into this meeting, just to make sure.
And the other thing, Dave, you would know better than anybody on this agency, and other than really for us, the Club Benet property, you talked about Town Lake, Lemire, Harbor Club, all of that has been, in the past, I mean, it's been so long ago that all of this was approved. This agency.
Right, I understand that it's years
If
and
we
years
looked
ago.
at this agency, the only thing that I know when I'm here now, going on my second term, but the only thing that we, had as far as building is the Club Benet. What other,
We did the power plant up on.
the power, but not as far
No,
as,
I'm talking about
I'm
residential.
talking about
That's
residential.
Residential.
Residential,
Right.
Club Benet.
Just
Right.
Club
And I
Benet.
know those agreements, I mean, I sat in a Board of Ed
Yeah.
4 years ago where they said we need to do something about the schools.
Yeah,
And I
it's-
was there too.
Right.
Because, see, I sit here with more vested interest than you or any other person sitting here. Both of my children, I graduated from here, I lived here my whole life, so we can,
Yeah.
37 years, wait.
Yeah.
Both of my children are in Wilson schools. I teach in the middle school. I have been invested in this town from day one. And because of the things that I felt I wasn't happy with, I said, damn it, I'm gonna run for office and I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna make a difference. And when I look at agreements and I look at things like that coming in front of me, and they all know this, they all say, we know you're gonna wanna give the house away to the Board of Education. But you know what, I also have to look at the fact that this overcrowding issue did not start yesterday. It did not start 5 years ago. It has been here for a long time. And I want to hold this board accountable, and that's why I sit here. I wanna hold my council accountable, but you know what? I need to hold the Board of Education accountable too, because I think they have real fiscal responsibility here, culpability here. And we had a superintendent a long time ago that turned around and closed down almost, I can't, countless numbers of schools. And her quote was, "This town isn't going to get any bigger." We sat in that, and I was there, I was a parent, because I was furious when the Board of Education was going to redistrict. I didn't have a problem with redistricting. I also represent the teachers, so I know firsthand, sitting in a classroom, how many students, how overcrowded, the burdens that we feel. But these did not happen overnight, and they've been here for a long time. And I find it interesting that 4 or 5 years ago, the Board of Education put a redistricting plan on the table that was going to alleviate some of the stresses that we feel with overcrowding. They had a couple of different proposals and ideas, one of which was to open up the old Jesse Slover School, which they chose to take away as a school and turn around and put Board of Education building and superintendents and so forth in there. It used to be a school. Luckily, they were smart enough to keep preschoolers there so they don't have to meet the same codes. That plan, they had engineers, we spent money as taxpayers to walk that building. I never got that engineer's report. I never turned around and found out what it was gonna cost to put it there. One of the other ideas was to turn around and do a addition to Eisenhower, which has the most property that we have within this entire district when it comes to school, and that's where the majority of our overcrowding was. Then what happened was they created maps, and they were going to redistrict this entire town so that way the schools that actually had additional occupancy ability would then have kids go there.
Right.
And there was parent and public outcry, because some kids, my own child would be, and maybe yours too, because they're about the same age, might actually be in 3 different schools in 3 years. And what happened was, there was we suddenly stepped back. I'm not gonna make any accusations here, but different things were happening also within the state, and there was a push to move the election to November in order to keep the residents from having to vote on the actual budget. And all of a sudden, I know you and I were there, those maps went off the table and we never revisited. You know, I want the most for this school district. We have a lot of problems, a ton of problems. But I also think that they need to be fair in this Blue Ribbon Committee. They need to present the parents there with the facts, the appropriate facts, and not create and turn a pilot program, because as a borough, we need revenue desperately because of what we lost as a result of Hurricane Sandy. We need to look at the good and the bad of both, and we need to come together and work together, not sit there and point fingers and say, you're not getting any money, you're not getting, because you can see just by sitting and talking to these gentlemen here that that's not 100% accurate. If we're gonna really come up with a solution to overcrowding, if we're gonna really embrace and move this town forward with smart redevelopment projects, which I do believe this is, that's gonna bring in additional revenue, in addition to additional kids, but we're building in these safeguards. We gotta do this together, and I feel like what was starting to happen on Facebook and what I've been attacked with as a council person by the Board of Education on the dais is not the way that you turn around and bring 2 very strong entities in town together for the best of our residents.
Right.
And that's really what has to happen.
No, and I agree. I mean, I definitely see discord between the Board of Ed and the council, which I think is ridiculous because it's one town. I mean,
I agree.
And the goals are the same, I would hope,
I think there's a lot of things that need to be investigated. I think that over the years, we've lost sight of the fact that we do work together. I think that people come up and attack thinking that they know the motives of one another, and it's not right. And the only one that pays the price really are our kids and the taxpayers of this town. But until everybody wants to sit down and come together, they form a Blue Ribbon Committee. I wasn't asked to be on that as a council person, nor was anybody else, I think, asked. One of the meetings that they had to talk about the pilot agreement, where the mayor put certain people on that committee, and then I had Board of Education members that blatantly, you can go back and watch the tape, lied and tried to put me on the spot and said, oh no, we agreed to this, we agreed to that, we agreed to that, and it wasn't accurate. Nothing's gonna get done if you try to bully somebody on a pole, with a microphone in front. And really that's what ended up happening, a very good discussion that could have transpired and we could have made things work. ended up becoming they don't care about schools, and I find it very offensive as a parent that has, and as a teacher that I've dedicated 15 years of my life here, and I'm dedicating more time of my life and away from my kids to do something better. I am proud of you for coming here today.
Thank you. Because their push was, go to meetings, go to council meetings, go to SERA meetings, you
But it
know,
was an
voice your
attack.
concerns.
It's different, like, I
Right.
feel like that is almost like
And
a
you
witch
see
hunt
who's
with a
here.
pitchfork. I know. And I got called, I mean, you know, you were probably at the PTO meeting where I had to come in, because I got 15 text messages in a matter of 5 minutes saying, Vic, you're on the council, how dare you not give any money to the borough, to the Board of Education? I'm at home with my daughters because my husband was at work. I had no choice but to go in there, and I was not there to fight with Dr. Labby, but there was a lot of things that were not 100% accurate.
Right, and I mean, that's what I said to you on Facebook. This is the information I was given at the Blue Ribbon Committee. So, you know, unfortunately, there's other parents there, so that's the
But they
information
didn't come.
that.
You see, you came.
Right, right.
And now
Guess
that's
what
where
you
you
get
can
to
go
be
back. And we were
No,
faced
I
with.
quit, no.
And we were faced with the same situation in Morgan with Club Benet.
The
You
difference
knew
with Club
that's-
Benet is,
But
you got somebody to knock down that
Right.
club that didn't buy the club. Now we have a base to build up Route 35. We can get that piece where the club was developed, that will bring in money, the board will get 56% of that, and then you'll start to see other businesses, like that
Right.
diner will start making money now. And you'll start seeing businesses come in, and that's where the Board of Ed will get their money. It's an investment. That's what the borough did.
But if we didn't do it, we would've got nothing. It was an eyesore. You had those bungalows back there, drug infested.
Oh,
No
God.
one cared. We fought this agency. It took us
How
10
many
years.
developers we went
10
through to get
years.
somebody to finally.
3 different
agree to knock down
developers.
that- Yep.
Now,
And-
are those 55 and over, those units? Or
Some.
Some,
units,
some.
20 units.
20 units.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're still required by the state to meet a COA obligation,
Right.
always not affordable housing.
Right, that's what they were talking
Well,
about
look
too.
how, look how nice
There
they
was a
look.
nice settlement too.
Look how
That's
nice
now.
they look. I mean, they
Mhm.
really, we took the time, the developer came in here, showed us how it was gonna be built, what the product was gonna be. We're proud of it. Yo.
Listen, my
Yeah.
family's from Morgan, and one of the first ever meetings I ever attended I was in high school, was when they had the town meeting there, because, you had the kid that was killed over there.
Yeah.
And I saw, and my grandparents are still there, my brother's still there. That building needed to come down, and it was such a disservice to every single person, but especially the people of Morgan, that was allowed to sit there for so long.
Right.
And there were 11 kids that were within those bungalows and in that area too, that actually came out of that school district, out of our school district.
Right.
And were placed in more suitable housing, in my opinion, because that was scary.
Yeah.
You know, I'm proud of that too. I'm proud of what they were able to do there, and I'm very happy every time I go around that circle
Yeah,
and
me
visit my
too.
grandma.
I actually
That's a
passed it
positive
one
thing.
day because I forgot what was there, and I'm saying, geez, I missed the turn. What happened to the building? But, you know, you were so used to that.
Mhm.
And,
I
yeah,
hope you would
that's.
go back to the school board now and tell them the truth. This is,
Well, I'll tell them this is the information
Right, and
that I got from
This is the
this group.
information they said.
You know, and they're welcome to come. We have nothing to hide. I mean, really, we really don't have anything
Yeah,
to
well, I
hide.
mean, you know, when I emailed Lucy Bloom, who is the head of the Blue Ribbon Committee, and just asked her, can you give me solid numbers, like where we are now, what the projection is for this year coming up?
Yeah, some of those numbers, I see them coming in, and I
Yeah,
see
but
what.
I didn't get anything.
No,
Didn't get it.
you know what, do this, I'll tell you where you can find some numbers of what they project for next year. Go onto the website, go under, you can do either the budget-friendly presentation, or you can do the other one.
Okay.
And you have to scroll through probably a lot of slides, I do them all the time, I could probably tell you what slide number it is if I think. And you will see what the numbers were from last year, what the projected numbers are for each and every school. And you can see what they presented in their budget presentation, what they used in order to calculate how much money they were going
Right,
to have
per
to
student.
spend per student. You know, and we can get into a long discussion, I've been doing this a long, long time, about how the 2% cap has really hampered not just the borough, but the Board of Education as well. You know, for years, Mr. McEnone has touted at the Board of Education that you get the biggest bang for your buck here. your tax dollars are low and you get wonderful services and you get a great school district. But unfortunately, when you put a 2% cap on that, 2% of 200,000 is not the same percent of 2% of 2 million. And they are now feeling the constraints of what they've been doing for so long.
Right.
And they really need to take a hard, fast look at where they're spending money, what they're spending money on, and moving forward here to alleviate this problem. And, I think that you have a new business administrator coming in next year, because Mr. DeAndrews is leaving, and it's concerning to me, because, new person coming in, what are we gonna see happen? But you should comb through that budget presentation, take a look at where money is being spent, where money can be saved.
Yeah, I did
and
look at it, but I didn't,
It's a lot.
Yeah.
We could sit down and talk, I'll go through it with you, I'm pretty good. But there's other people there, and the Board of Education can explain that as well.
Yeah.
And then we can talk really about what other concerns we have as educators with that 29 or such students in the room. Because I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congrats, coming to the next one?
Anyone else
Yes,
from
my
the
next
public
one
wish
will
to
be
speak?
council meeting.
Council meeting, come on up.
I have a motion to close the
Make-
public portion.
I make a motion. Second.
Closed, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn,
Make a motion. we adjourn.
is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.